Hello everyone, welcome to today's live stream. So this is going to be a quick one because it was a long week and I have a follow-up group coaching call for Funnels and Ads Pro in literally 15 minutes. So what I brought you today is a session notes template. So when we have a coaching session, in an ideal world, we are taking session notes, which you can find here. I've linked it for you. And those session notes will help you to keep your sessions organized. They will help you to increase the perceived value of the session for the client. They will help your client to understand what they need to do next. So it will hold them accountable, responsible, and make them aware that they have responsibilities and what they can do up until the next time, and also prepare for the next session. So in that sense, if you're doing one-to-one coaching, this is a really cool retention tool for you. So let me just quickly see. So I think you can you hear me, guys? Hello. I think it works. Yeah. Okay, so what kind of notes do you want to take during the session? So you just make, again, you can always come here, file, make a copy of the thing, and then use it as your own and with your clients. So first thing we always want to take care of is logistics. So the date and time, the client name, and when the next session after that will be. So in an ideal world, you arrange the next session with your client during this session, right? So by actually saying, based on the things we agreed on, when would you like us to have our next session, so we can check in and keep working on this in a focused manner, right? So this here is an upsell tool in itself. So logistics, date and time, client name, when is the next session. Preparation, so this is before you dive into a session. For every session, you would want to clarify with your client, what are the goals for the session, right? So what's the agenda? What do we want to cover? What do we need to get out of the session to call this session a success? Then we would want to talk about the key points. So the key topics, these are the primary primary suspects, subjects, challenges, areas that you would want to discuss. Note them down. Then the discussions, for the discussion itself, write down any insights, questions, main talking points raised during the session. After this portion of the coaching call, so this should be, if you have an hour-long coaching call, you should be no longer maximum 45 minutes in. Better is if you're like 40 minutes in. So typically, within the first 10 minutes, you have the whole, hey, how you doing, building rapport. What exactly are we looking to get out of the session? This should be done within the first 10 minutes. Then you have about 30 minutes where you really have a focused core discussion, right? Then it's the commitment phase. Okay, so what are we doing now? Planning the action in accordance with our client's long-term goal, helping them to break down the sub-goals, setting realistic expectations about what can we really do until when. We brainstormed all these ideas. What do we want to focus on right now? So really planning out the next action steps, and then saying, okay, what tools are needed, what resources are needed, what materials are needed, what feedback is needed for you to complete the action. Then after that, we want to discuss accountability. So how would you like me to check in with you? Would you like me to check in at all with you? An email? Shall we send up some sort of accountability agreements? I would not, did that in the past, but I would not anymore include accountability in between sessions, right? So if a client wants to be held accountable and they want to have check-ins, that's something you can agree on a low retainer basis, right? So you can say to the client, you know what, we can also agree on a $50 a month retainer, and I check in with you twice a week on WhatsApp. I make sure that you are held accountable and that you don't get stuck. Really great way to build up a little bit of a retainer income for you in the beginning. Offer that, and if they don't opt for that, let's agree with them, okay, how can you hold yourself accountable? Who in your direct field is involved and committed to this that can help you to hold yourself accountable? Because without the accountability, it's really easy to fall off. You would also want to ask for feedback and recommendations. So you would want to give them any constructive observation that you have, and ways where you would think they can maximize their progress. And one part of this, after we plan out the action steps, is also anticipating potential barriers. I almost overlooked that. So when we agree with our clients, we always need to make them aware that as you progress and you do this action step, very likely there will be barriers coming up for you, right? So let's try to together anticipate what kind of barriers could come up, and let's develop a plan for how you'll tackle those when they come up. Will you reach out to me? This is where you can introduce that. Do you want me to hold you accountable, or what will you do when you get in trouble executing this throughout the week? Because what happens also if you don't set that expectation is you get a lot of messages throughout the week that you of course want to answer because you want your client to be successful, but you ain't getting paid for this, right? And yes, you might now think, well, it's just 2 minutes, 5 minutes, I can send them a quick voice message, etc., and they get unstuck. The more that gets them unstuck, the more they reach out to you, and the more clients you have, the more you then just spend time in Messenger answering questions all day without getting paid for that in between the sessions. So your actual effective hourly rate gets boiled down to below minimum wage. So we can't have that happen. This is why already in the session, we need to anticipate what challenges will you run into, potentially what do you want to do if you have these challenges, right? Do you want me to be available? Then I can make you an offer for that, right? Set that boundary and get into the habit of setting that boundary early on. And again, it creates this upsell environment, right? When we say, okay, when do you think you will be done with this? Then we should have a next session. What do you anticipate as in roadblocks? How would you like me to support you in that? Then you'd give them observations that you have, right? So always try to read between the lines. When your client agrees on an action step, but you feel like, oh, they're not 100% committed, call it out right away, right? Say, I know we talked about it and I know you just agreed to that, but I feel like there's something not aligning for you, right? So use the last time in the call to really make sure they're fully committed and fully aligned. And then at the end, write down your own reflections and your own notes. You would want to not share that portion with the client. Those are just your notes for where you kind of left it off with them and what you see. So, as you have more, hi there, as you have more clients, it will be that the lines will start to blur, right? So last week I had 6 hot seat sessions and 3 group coaching calls and 2 one-to-ones. So the lines where you kind of left things off with someone can sometimes get a little bit blurry. Anything that you would want to stay top of mind for you personally, write it down. And then delete that, make a copy of it, delete that last row for the client if that's notes that are just purely for you internally, and then send them a copy to kind of wrap up the session. And again, as a sign that this is all we did, this is all we mapped out. Now it's on you to go implement, right? If you need additional help, feedback, these are the options, remember. Just so you also make sure that you really leave it off with that call and you not start, because I cannot tell you how quickly you're covertly enrolled into an execution and unpaid employee of someone. So it's clarifying how to make progress for your clients, is clarifying who is responsible. It's clarifying who is responsible also for accountability, and it's kind of ensuring you and your client have full clarity on how to progress, right? Without covertly expanding the scope of this one coaching session that really can only be one session, because remember, you also have to do the session prep. You have to be available at that time. You have to be in your best mental capacity. Boy, these hot seats, I love them, but I'm like passing out on the afternoon because they take so much from you, right? So we cannot have it that those hours get covertly like blown up into bigger commitments. So be clear, use the session notes as a tool for that, to anchor the value, make it abundantly clear who is responsible for what in a gentle and professional way, right? This is about you and your client establishing a functional relationship that's mutually beneficial, and you set the tone for that. Hopefully with the session note template. I hope this was helpful. I'll hop off for my next group coaching call. and I wish you a wonderful weekend. Yeah, thank you. I'm so happy that it's helpful. Love you all. Have a beautiful rest of the week, and bye for now.